All right, all right, all right. Welcome all to the Slam Jam, the online open mic that also includes slam poetry. This is a lovely community where we gather around, take our pieces, and we talk about them. It's very different when you're able to discuss the poetry as opposed to going to an open mic in person where you get the piece and that's that. So we're trying to do something different. With that said, there are two options for participants. There's the open mic portion where you get 5 minutes of whatever you would like to do as a performance arts, whether it be poetry, whether it be prose, whether it be a cover, dance, what have you. You have 5 minutes. It's a good time. Now, the slam open mic portion is where we follow, I would say, pretty strict slam rules. You get 3 minutes of playtime, no props. With further details, I'm going to pass that along to my co-host, Kate.
Hey, so the slam operates like a typical slam would in real life. So, only minus the fact that there are no scores and no prizes. So, therefore, there are requirements of the poem being less than 3 minutes and 10 seconds. No props are allowed, no costumes. Basically, like we're just here to uplift and support one another. And with that being said, let's get on to Ma Dukes.
Fractured painted glass reflects rainbows across sainted pictures of past motivation. Procrastination ain't for the weak, y'all. Even strong minds faint in hindsight of lost. Count the cost of family trauma that's related to the blood bonds that lead to loss, that cause stagnancy, that pauses healing of the immobility of the transitional kind. The blind leads the blind to the inevitable cliff of decisions, and one wrong move causes oblivion for the closed-minded. Waking up and making up leads to breaking up of the stained glass, the third eye that cannot see and will not allow the collective we to overcome and adapt as we Red Rover ourselves to assimilation, collecting bastardized versions of who we are when no one else is looking. Private eyes privatize public personas of human dignity, while imagination is left panting on the dried brown grass of normalcy. Never underestimate the lure of the mundane as we pander to the extraordinary fading beauty of youthful exuberance. We go wading into life headlong over heels, over fields, over ourselves, making deals in the back rooms of our minds to stay away from tombstones and whores as we six-shooter our way through a reality better lived through a computer game than the wildfires of the real world. Day-to-day existence without substance, without depth, brings the depressed to the brink of chaos while remaining oblivious to the truth within themselves, a simple truth, just past fingertip reach. Life is worth living.
If my hands were birds. It wasn't a plum tree, nor the tree of life. Rather, it was a lone orange tree where we paced underneath those shadows deliberately under his rain. I was unable to trace the history of who planted the tree, and I gathered not the ripe oranges high above me, but instead this thought. He who deemed himself king of mindfulness would have wanted it to be a plum tree, to emulate Plum Village, the Buddhist temple in France. However, he also quizzically and typically wore a black cowboy hat in California. Mystery never solved why that hat, yet there was no need for this kind of authority. I wanted to tell him it is not about rankings here. It is not just science about the breath, even though he was an engineer. King is such an ugly word. Compassion was not in fashion within him like his hateful hat, although despite immense pain, never once did he see my tears, since he, the case manager, did not deserve that type of vulnerability, since his emotional response was lacking from others in my life. Compassion, that seed missing to cultivate and illustrate the spectrum of human emotions, was clearly not on display to my dismay. Even the sun, unable to speak, had compassion for that strangely, wonderfully, resiliently abundant orange tree. I then could see orange, orange, orange up above me, while instead he wanted me to focus on my feet. I can still see his black shoes clearly. He ordered me to feel your feet in your shoes, striking the pavement slower than slowly, but not slow motion, because this wasn't a movie. Instead, I yearned to turn towards the cotton candy blue sky, wishing to fly, but by then I should have realized the word wish should have been removed from the dictionary, from the lexicon, unlike leprechauns. Not on my side, luck, because he, the wannabe cowboy, wanted to force me into re-engineering the endings to my nightmares, not nightingales, even though repeatedly each week he told me to do so by designating directions on how to deal with distressing dreams.
Fear's terror is afraid of me. It's scared of the frightening bravery which occasionally forces me to write this vagrantly courageous type of flagrancy, from which there is no vacancy. It seems that my pain has been silently creeping with an insanely profane and inhumane kind of speaking from the literary havoc that I be grammatically wreaking while magically leaving people's brains ravaged barbarically like a savage with reason. 'Tis the jolly season's vaporly rabid addiction to my articulately adaged and particularly avid descriptions of the erratically sporadic afflictions which have copied and bitten every single word I've ever uttered, added, or written. For adamantly twisting and twirling these words in an absurdly profound whirlwind of nouns and verbs that can only be found swirling in the most renowned corners of the far-fetched depths of the farthest stretches of the universe's most profound sounds and slurs. If you prefer, I'll improvise impromptus on the spot and ad-lib on the fly so that you could hear a proper alibi. I'm poetry's epitome with a poetic validity that's lyrically known to be poetically persnippety, a stoically heroic poet known to spit persistently, prophetically, proficiently, progressively, and prolifically, explicitly, an illicitly linguistic lyricist, with a lyrical physical fitness of an exquisitely terrific physicist, with a biblically clinical and critically cynical type of spiritual diction that propels a renowned recognition of my pronouns, prepositions during this profound deposition, to which I found you listening. And now you're bound by your cognitive dissonance from my ominously obvious omnipotence, confounding your incomparable ignorance. Therefore, it is highly imperative that I rampantly fight for the emphatically relative rights of the semantic relevance of my scripturally synopsized and extensively intrinsic eloquence. Hence, I can scribble this riddle while I dribble in the middle a little literally. Thank you.
My mind unwinding, finding clues I left behind me, designed for my uprising. I choose the breath inside me, lined by undying views of a muse who sat beside me. Knowledge I held tight to, language I spelled right through, image I excelled my sight's true. Threw pieces of my past life into speeches that I cast live. A few breaches in my glass eye review teachers as I pass by. I grew true glitches stitched in space-time to expand my mind in lieu of bass vibes. Sincerely, who knew the hinges had been swinging freely, briefly allowing wishes to seep deep into reality, Clearly astounding, these glimpses creep around me. It's beginning to allow me to see how we fit existing in the now beat. I sit emitting a resounding, bright light that surrounds me, insisting I might take flight. Proudly, loudly I sound off, tossed a few words into the sky while I fly around lost, spew 2/3 of my mind at no cost to you, or whoever happens to cross paths with a version of me rapping about these diversionary tactics, certain words to make 'em backflip. I classically spit magic, burdened birds who passively flew past it. I sarcastically chew plastic, surge into Earth's passage, manage to do damage artistically, rhythmically laughing about all the past lives I was trapped in, the one known as no one knows what happened. I fashioned a glowing orb from a flowing storm so I had something to pass him for hunting crass hymns, transmitting Gnostic vision by twisting optic ribbons. I remember being born on more than one occasion, a defender who was sworn to warn all of the neighbors. I render my physical form based on all the greatest. Am I the bravest or a sadist? Flipping through all life's pages, I found out that we're all made with the same sound vibration. I blame ground displacement for lame, unbound migrations. Salutations, my friends, with all my love and appreciation.
Hosanna in the highest has hindered another dogged contender, introduced to a crowded blender mixed alongside legal tender and pureed a soiree of thought designed expressly to forget her. An intervention impromptu after a clandestine fender bender. I cannot seem to forgive myself for snuffing out nascent cinders of fires that required only more air and no more tinder. I cannot even hear you right now. My brain is splintered. 5,000 voices crowd me. I feed them bread and angler. I am a vivid painter, a magnanimous creator. Wickedly talented, I am my own greatest danger. Disappointing Daedalus is my idea of adventure. Tantalizing fruit outside of my reach is what's for dinner. Where have I been? What do you mean? Why does it matter? I'm appearing here on a ladder, peering into the eyes of a faggot battered and finding behind his tears only fear and fetters and tattered. I stun with panache. The world's a stage. I'm a dancer. Rose petals scatter the proscenium. I should feel so flattered, but I do not. Incapable of believing that I matter, I loathe the thought that I should desire a quick fix to get better. Why would require I any course of treatment to help me weather the rain that's precipitated over my life when I've tuned out the pitter patter? Without it, who am I? Is there anything left? My ego is shattered. But maybe on the other side, there's a kernel of something better. I suppose I cannot possibly know until after. I need only to present my silver pride on this wounded platter.
By designating directions on how to deal with distressing dreams, all the while knowingly I was too terrified to write them down on paper and purple ink, to manifest from the mind to the page, to rewrite the ending so I would have more agency, thus power, but he was unable to see these horrors too horrific to replay in my mind. Blatantly, I refused, me a non-believer, wishing I could yell, fuck you. I wasn't one usually to curse, yet at the same time, I felt cursed. He made this process seem simple and as sweet as the excessively popular game to that day, Candyland, conceived in 1949, designed for preschoolers, designed for improving color recognition skills, designed to save the kidnapped king, designed to travel down the magical road, whereas the problematic character Plumpy with his plums was removed in 2002. Who would have thought that a miniature manufactured pink square with a painting of a plum would be So problematic? This board game design for Joy to employ the importance of candy, really such blasphemy at such an early age. And wasn't it dandy? In 2022, I was sent here again, dealing with a person who I wanted nothing to do with. He had the freedom as he pleased, yet I was not held hostage. However, it was my mind in this dreamscape, which was the wreck of a realm where I denied him access to know these horrors that held me hostage throughout the nights. Knights in shining armor. I could care less and then never gave a damn about chess. I knew chess was for two strategically skilled players. I didn't know the rules, yet I did know some buzzwords. He and I weren't in a stalemate, or maybe he thought so. Wish I could have called this a checkmate. Wish his and my roles were reversed. Since I refused, then I was viewed differently. I was no pawn, he was no real king, but this was not a game anyhow. My life was on the line, not on the 3-point line. That would have been ideal, to be living, breathing basketball. End poem.
I want the ABC, the DEs of your FGs, so that I can HI the JKs of your elemental Ps. Then I'll Q the RSTs of the U's in your V's, while Wing the X's of the Y's in your Z's. Wording letters into sentences which run on paragraphs, which I might add, subtract the multiply divisions of my fractions algebraically triggered geometry. Now you can calculate the geometry of my being sorry for forgiving your apology. I'm realizing whom I've always been while being told I never was or ever will be, but you could never kill the real me. In my tree, I'm the positive skepticism of my family's nepotism defense mechanism, like plagiarism's eloquently elegant exorcism. I'm next of kin to the symphonied similes of metaphorically orchestral soliloquies which proficiently prohibit the indubitably iniquitous indignities of my perpetually prolific proclivities, emancipating my freedom's liberties from the ramifications of their consequential repercussions, which came with no compunction, instructions, or introductions, just delusional illusions and accusatory assumptions. Meanwhile, I'm manufacturing poems to distribute through my vocal cords for mass production's mass consumption. I'm starving hunger's famine by going ham, cheesing a Colgate smile from here to denial, which so many are in. Accusing blames guilty culpability of being at fault for liability sin. Bad decisions, scapegoats so as to bypass admissions of mistaken errors and blatant terrors. I'm denying plausibility's irresponsibility. Because even if I lie to you, I'm telling the truth. So pick the selection that you decided to choose. I opt to let loose so I can rock a by the clock into a truce with no hands, luring the minutes, seconds into busy intersections of wrists, watching tick-tocking sands of time spans standing still, while ages of epic errors fight to acquit my absolved exonerations, which is still running up quite the bill, causing the planets to bounce off the moons of Saturn in grandma's knitted quilting patterns, somewhat ripped, shredded, torn, and tattered. Ill. I sent a grievance to the spaz of the unsightly face of hysteria. It's truly repugnant, his twisted plan. One flagrant, I swear to God, really pitiful, who literally has been dropping the ball. Because see, while Eve was eating Adam's apple, Eden was nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, Jill was on the hill jumping Jack and Jehoshaphat with the pail of water she fetched from the stretched depths of hell's back and beyond the ponderings of yonder's wildest imagination. So I sat there wondering, maybe I'm missing something that I missed for nothing. But I'm executing revolutionary resolutions for retributional restitution, hence evolution's ergo, allowing my prestos changos to see the prestige which my abracadabra's hocus to pocus. Voila.
Grasping for the molecules my brain needs. This thing feeds on LSD and DMT. Psilocybin tends to breed a bit of sweet relief. THC been a main staple, I burned so many leaf. The booze always seem to ooze from every pore. I never shut the fucking door. Usually end up on the fucking floor. Head sore from the dosage I injected of less respected drugs. Sometimes in my mind I wonder if I just needed better hugs, more love shown to me at a younger age. running to my grave. I look back at the trail of breadcrumbs, but they never stayed. Honestly, enlightened though. Turn off the lights and watch me glow. Consciousness forever grown. I lack the melatonin to go into a state of deep sleep, lacking serotonin and red meat. My speech tends to overlap my thoughts due to ADHD. Never been the one to pass up a good time. Open mind, just trying to skid by with the mental issues I imbibe, or is it in bed? Words in my head seemed to twist and turned. I filled my urn with ashes of laughter. This court sojourn, I found myself innocent. Heavily sedated, it's been a minute since I last checked my pulse. I see my body and I'm still in it, beginning to reconnect my spirit with the earth. What's the worst that can happen? Crying or laughing? My entire mind is wrapped in a hazy fog. I'd shake it off, but it's stuck deep within my thoughts. A psychonaut. I've traversed planes that you cannot imagine. Stop to ask myself what happened, but I'm half in, half out. No doubt it's the route that I chose. Never really fit in, always seem to get in, trouble and such, past the Dutch backwood or the Philly, bro. Trying to get higher than I ever did before. Now I check my skull, brain in constant flux. It's like I feel the need to fuck shit up. I concede I wish my dreams were in reach, but it seems my attempts are never enough. Trying to stay in touch, flying through a tunnel of thorns. Sometimes I feel scorn, drawn to things that do harm to my physical form. I admit it's a trip, living in the grip of my own mind, wishing I could just take some time to realign my soul, living my best life, side by side with my wife. Now that's my goal.
This is called Punchline. A holy woman, a man called no one, a riot, and a lesbian walk into a bar. I bet you think there's a joke coming. The punchline is there is no punchline. Drumline beating out rhythms of heartbeats, soul beats, beats back depression and anxiety, and presence becomes presence as they present themselves as the gifts they are, have become, and continue to be. Rock solid in the face of mountains of healing pain and healing rain and healing gain again and again. The riot said to the room that trauma is her superpower. Turn pain into poetry. I hold my trauma like a child holds an injured bird, gently in the palm of my hand, showing it to others in an effort to heal myself, and heal them, to bring forth a community of healers doing healing work, while reminding one another to, poet, heal thyself first. Breathe and be. We be the light, y'all. We be the healing. We be the feeling. A holy woman, a man called no one, a riot, and a lesbian walked into my life and changed it. Help me change me so that together we become the roots of this growing community of love, flowing outward into each other, into the kids who break our hearts with the stories of their broken souls, into the elderly who pass on their stories of their lives, into everyone within earshot of these life performances, as the spirits guide us poets to the beauty our pain has become. I have a diagnosis that may lead to a worse diagnosis of that big C word that nobody likes to hear. And this poem is written on the concept of what if I'd have gotten the news? And it is called The News. I see a rider on a pale horse off in the distance. Can't quite make out the features in the shimmering minutes before sunset. I can tell that both the horse and the rider are a bit gaunt, as though they came to haunt. The sky is beautiful as the sun sinks slowly beyond the horizon. all hues of reds and pinks. And once it is finally gone from the sky and only the palest of light is left, does this rider start forward, slowly coming into focus as darkness falls. The rider holds out its bony hand and pulls me up behind him. I got the news today. That dreaded word I won't repeat here. Time is not on my side. Months left on this twilight of my life. Death is waiting in the darkness, and I am at peace.
There you are, grabbing hold of that mutant boomerang of a video game controller, eyes glued to the radioactive gaming screen, thumbs resting firmly on the controller stick and A button, barrel rolling and blasting away at intergalactic evil on Star Fox 64. You're freaking out in joy like the honeycomb mascot because the controller is vibrating because of a rumble pack attachments. Then all of a sudden, it's 3:30, and you are not gonna miss Pokemon and on the living room 32-inch Panasonic. So you rapid dash your way towards the living room couch, diving with TV remote and cable box remote in hands, spinning an exact 180 degrees mid-air with flair as he descends towards the lumpy comforts for your fanny. As you do, you simultaneously turn on both TV and cable box with the channel already set. Nobody knows how cool a kid you can be behind the social audience. You'll have growing pains in puberty and therapy, but enough of that. You waited your entire day to watch Pokemon. This is the time of day you don't have to worry about trying to fit in. Your fourth grade class pretended to like you for one day and threw you in the dirt the next. It is a time of day you aren't the loneliest kid in recess playing kickball by yourself to drag. You later round up some other Webster School rejects and shoot b-ball every day in 5th grade. Yeah. This is the time of day you don't think about your dad who will slip into a seemingly unbreakable depression, or all about how hard your mom is working to be able to sustain the family by herself, only to witness the statue of the woman rust away. But what can you do? You're 9 years old. You got some math, science, and language arts homework, but it can wait. It can all wait. Just make sure you fit in that healthy dosage of visual serotonin into your system and have fun as you turn on, tune in, and drop out.
For a moment, forget about sports. Forget about sports. We need hot, naked women in the flesh, fire breasts. Don't arrest me for this want like others disapproving. Rather have me be straight. Forget about sports. We need hot, naked women, their little smiles like jumping flames. No need to tame. The refrain is past due. This would have been the third time, not the charm, but she She charmed me, enamored by her, and the reality is that I can only be with my fantasies. Yes, I rock the blue basketball shorts on the daily, but don't you dare call me masculine. I need an escape. I'm an artist, just another woman. Just want another woman to touch other than myself. I'm a woman. I don't wander into the territory of masculinity. Don't misgender me. Me, myself, and I can have a great time, but me, myself, and I don't equate to threesome, and I'm loathsome and lonelier than the fleck of sand on that sea turtle's back, that stubborn itch. She's not a bitch, but bring the refrain back because I can and I will forget about sports. Mic drop.
To Mars with love. It's me again, hey. Just calling to say that I'm terribly sorry that I pushed you away. I get it if by now it's too little too late, but I did not think I could stave any longer. I swear I'd be a goner if I even tried to ponder on and on this another day. Wait. I know that you have so much weight on your plate, but there's simply no one else whom I want to date. I totally get it if your mind is made, but all of my chips are on the table now laid. No, trust me, babe, I'm well and gay. Don't call you that? Well, that's okay. Where am I doing time for my crimes, I'm afraid. I'm just kidding. Well, kind of, well, only halfway. Don't be mad, but would you hate me if I told you I self-flayed with a blade and spilled a gallon of my own blood down the drain? No, it wasn't you, not quite per se. It was me, Avast. I'm the source of my pain. My brain is my bane, and it's clinically insane. It lays into me whenever I pray, which admittedly isn't really even every other day, but Jesus, even today, I cannot reign in and tame the claim that we are together, meant to reign supreme forever over whatever remains of this entire damn domain. You would be my queen, I could be your thane. Yas, Queen Slay. Did you find that funny, babe? Oh fuck, I'm sorry, you said not to say babe, but April is over and the flowers of May blossom as they gaze at Basque Bake and bathe in the lustrous, wondrously radiant rays of your absolutely breathtakingly beautiful face. I'm so awfully sorry for straining things, babe. I'm aware so acutely that when my thoughts race, it's enormously difficult to keep with my pace. With shame, I will admit that I am alone to blame. I swear I've paid not a grain to any role you may have played in my grave trip along and down the steep gravel grade. Oh, if I could grate a pound of my flesh and trade it for a chance to escape and erase my mistakes, I would. And wouldn't that be great? But I cannot clean the slate, so here I stay, craving your mane, deigning to bay at your gates, proudly praising your name and pleading my case for turning a new page. Thank you.
Indiscriminately incriminating are the incredulously crazy crimes consistently committed at our expenses worth during our expensive births through Mother Earth's comprehensively extensive girth. At first, we were second to be third in line to be revived and reborn in the eye of the hurricane's fiery storm, where we were violently formed in single files to be a little bit wild enough to be conveniently reviled and scorned. This is the unfortunate new style and norm, which for a while had been performed on us in the form of such a rude smile, in the middle of such a violent storm as violets warn us of the impending silent swarms. I'm tired, torn, wired, worn. I'm not trying to conform, but I definitely got something for 'em, and I'm gonna try to keep this forum within the foreign boundaries of diplomacy and decorum while I expose and explore them. Because during the beginning of this and the existential intuition of my pen will indefinitely stop time to eloquently intervene and infinitely transcend the chronologically implemented agendas which constantly and maliciously offend us. So therefore, my friend, please permit me to respectfully offend you with the honor in my truth, while the dignity of my integrity blatantly disrespects your surreptitiously supercilious stipulations with the honesty that resides in my couth. We've been blatantly baffled, befuddled, and bamboozled by the criminalistic confusions and your bewildering perplexities. So clearly I must clarify the clear clarification and clarifying the clearness of my clarified complexities. You've excessively stretched our strength to the absolutely fullest extent of their incredibly extensive extremities, from robbing our identities to stealing our serenities with people like you. Who the hell needs any enemies? It seems you do. You want to keep us at war to keep us separated. You want us distracted from your evil agenda. You want us ignorant so you can imprison us. You want us divided so you can conquer us. But it's time for the evil veils of the world to be lifted to the point where they can only be noted from a distance and eventually wiped from the history of our world's existence. With a persistent tenacity, insistent on the righteous infliction of a viably vicious type of veracity, complicit with the mission and the vision at hand, because divided we fall, so united we most definitely must stand. I say this because I am an anonymous anomaly with a quality over quantity philosophy who's still waiting for an apology. But honestly, I'm oddly in harmony with the modesty of my prophecy's odyssey because undoubtedly honesty is always the best policy. Meanwhile, my mental optometry is a subconscious commodity instrumentally essential to this quintessentially influential monopoly, which is an integral part of my incrementally monumental pathology, commonly implemented as an oddity of a novelty, which is an obvious atrocity due to the ominous animosity which hauntingly follows me like the dichotomy between prosperity and poverty. So constantly, I must defend my progeny's psychology chronologically until they confidently become the prodigy which arguably they consciously ought to be. You know? Thank you.
It's beautiful yet terrifying how steep our minds are. It's suitable yet verifying how deep you find scars. Thin as bubble skin, human psyche, mighty and meek, spin crass troubled sins. I'm superhuman, feisty, can speak in poetry, openly, honestly, no lies, so wise, grin so wide, been socially awkward, need to see a doctor, seem locally bothered, greed control these monsters, globally hoping we have the opportunity to thicken the layer of humanity's bonds. Totally coping he's half the community, stricken a soothsayer, he truthfully responds. My mind wanders off across vast distances, try to find responders. I toss past instances of myself in any direction. Many reflections of yourself in semi-perfection, demi-inflections. Hold tight to any imperfections. I knew to glue them in place. Told right to my face, plenty corrections in lieu of mistakes. One day, when this bubble pops, I'll be ready. 'Cause I won the game, the humble way, slow and steady.